Chapter 21. Strengthening the Artificial Intelligence System. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. It was a phone. Are you sure it's not a server? 1 TB runs memory plus 256 TB hard drive capacity plus 8 TB/s memory broadband. 8K video takes plus 7680 x 4320 screen resolution plus 320 Hz screen refresh rate. The electromagnetic capacity of 6500 mAh plus 100 W wireless express charge within 50 mAh. CPU main frequency 12 GHz plus 24 core plus 64 thread. Is this AF * King phone? Tang Rui was stunned. If this was used to fight a mega corporation, it shouldn't lag, right? He put the phone in his pocket and took out his bracelet. The bracelet did not change much, but it increased the monitoring function of physical health. It was quite practical, but there were not many changes. Finally, he picked up the smart glasses and put them on. Swoosh! A virtual screen appeared in front of his eyes. It was very clear, but it did not affect his vision. Tang Rui had an idea. A DOS program run interface appeared on the laptop screen. Nice. Just now, he had used brain waves to control the laptop. The command was passed to the notebook through the sensor of the smart glasses. This was the function he needed the most. To test the accuracy of brainwave reading, he wrote a small calculator program. Lines of codes quickly refreshed on the screen. In less than a minute, he had written a small calculator program. At this speed, he could beat all the programmers in the world. After all, there was a limit to hand speed. The speed of thought always exceeded the speed of hand speed. As long as there was nothing wrong with his thoughts and his brainwave reading and translation were correct, the speed of his programming would only depend on the speed of his thoughts. He closed the keyboard twice and closed the laptop, returning it to its suitcase form. Tang Rui looked at the system interface. Item. Fully defensive laptop, experience. 12/25,000, enhancement. Body, hardware, software, peripherals, origin points. 13.6, enhanceable, full defense. How interesting. The original 3.defense laptop had now become a full.defense laptop. Many people had a misunderstanding. They believed that the three defenses were anti-chemical, chemical, and nuclear weapons. That was the standard for underground nuclear fortifications. A laptop. No matter how much defense he had, it was impossible for him to resist the attack of nuclear weapons. Under normal circumstances, the three protections of electronic products referred to the protection against mold, moisture, and salt. The outer shell he had originally bought was IP65. It could prevent external objects and dust from infiltrating, and it could also prevent water from immersing in it. It was considered quite good. But now that it had been strengthened, the prefix had become full defense, which meant that there had been a tremendous change in this aspect. He just didn't know. Could this laptop be resistant to electromagnetic pulses? Could it defend against kinetic energy impacts and shocks? At the same time, did cyber attacks count as full defense? However, he would not be so bored as to conduct such experiments. Taking the laptop to charge, he lay on the sofa in his smart glasses and began to write a program. At a distance of 50 meters, all peripherals can be used for data transfer and wireless charging with the laptop. If they were 50 meters away, the smart glasses and smart bracelet had to rely on the phone's network to connect to the laptop. But how big was a room? 50 meters was more than enough. Just like that, Tang Rui lay on the sofa and programmed with his mind. 10 minutes later, a network port scanning tool was completed. Keep going. A few minutes later, a simple web information search tool was completed. This kind of simple web crawler was very easy to write. It took him a few minutes, but he still added the image search algorithm. He could search the images directly. However, the next firewall was a huge project. Fortunately, he did not need to write it directly. Instead, he added some functions with the firewall of the operating system. For example, mirror programs and honeypot systems. Normal firewalls would not have these functions. It took almost 2 hours. He added various functions to the firewall, such as Trojan horse kill, virus scan, virtual hard drive, mirror system, anti-invasion honeypot, and so on. Now, if someone wanted to hack into his computer, they had to break through more than 10 firewalls outside and break through trap programs one by one. Finally, they had to break through the authorization protection of the operating system to obtain the super administrator authority. However, he did not think that anyone could do this. It was not that his skills were invincible. Instead, it was an operating system enhanced by the system interface. Its privilege protection was no longer something that hackers could resolve. Therefore, he did not have to worry about his IP address being exposed. All kinds of tools had been prepared. Tang Rui started his first hack. This feeling of sneaking around was very exciting. His target was an internet cafe. Why did he have to find an internet cafe? It was because he needed a few chickens. It was a springboard. Everyone understood. Although this method was no longer useful for the current internet technology, however, he still wanted to put on a disguise. It was a little ritualistic. Scan the port. Sending a disguised message. Obtain admin permissions. Make a nest out of a patch and set up a springboard program. This series of methods sounded very fast, but it was even faster to operate. Tang Rui did not even get up. The data on the smart glasses kept refreshing. Soon, everything was done. After doing all this, it was only then that he started hacking into telco servers. In the end, as soon as he went up, he was discovered by the cybersecurity department of the telco. The other party followed the data and began to hack in the opposite direction. This made Tang Rui's balls hurt. Was he that lousy? That shouldn't be the case. Then how did the other party discover him immediately and lock onto him? He was very puzzled. However, this was not a big deal. However, the traces of his invasion had been discovered. It would not be easy for the other party to find him. The data on the smart glasses began to refresh. Lines of code were quickly written. The two sides began to fight through the internet. In the cybersecurity office next to the telecommunications room, someone suddenly started typing on the keyboard. Moreover, he was laughing as he knocked. His smile was very wretched. What are you laughing at? Did you take the wrong medicine? Boss, I found a rookie. His skills are not bad, but his experience is too poor. He scanned the phishing port we left behind and even sent a message over. I'm dying of laughter. Did you trace the address? Not yet. The other party's foundation is very solid and his adaptability is very strong. If not for his poor experience, I might not have been able to suppress him. That's amazing. Do you need help? No, let me play with him. Half an hour later. Boss, hurry up and help. I can't hold on much longer. Here we go. Another hour passed. The dozen or so people in the office all attacked. The smiles on their faces had disappeared, and their expressions had become serious. He had no choice. The other party was growing too quickly. If not for the fact that they had the advantage in the team, they would not have been able to withstand it. Even so, it was very difficult for them to resist now. They were completely suppressed by the other party. Another half an hour passed. We've been tricked. The other party is also phishing. They're not alone, but a team. Stop playing around. Immediately mobilize your computing power, connect to the cloud platform, and directly defeat the other party. The head of the security department gave the order directly. If they continued playing, something bad would happen. Therefore, they directly disregarded morals and activated the big data cloud network. In an instant, Tang Rui's attack was suppressed. Then, before he could react, the chicken and the gangplank were directly crippled. The other party's data flow crashed into the firewall with a destructive force. F***CK. Tang Rui jumped up from the sofa and was dumbfounded. Originally, he was still in a deadlock with the other party. This allowed him to familiarize himself with online attack and defense at an extremely fast speed, and his skills were constantly improving. In the end, at that moment, the other party's calculation ability multiplied exponentially, instantly breaking the stalemate. Even if he programmed it with his mind, no matter how fast his thoughts were, they could not be faster than supercomputers. Thank goodness. The operating system that had been strengthened by the system panel had its own firewall that completely withstood the other party's attack. No matter how complicated and varied the other party's data flow was, it was still blocked outside. This made Tang Rui sigh in relief, but at the same time, he was also a little speechless. What should he do now? The other party had cheated. It was even King physical cheat. Tang Rui walked to the laptop and looked at the system panel. I want to cheat too. Let's see who's the better hacker. Strengthening. He clicked Enhance again. However, the enhancement this time was no longer the overall enhancement of the hardware system. Instead, it was divided into separate parts. For example, hardware systems. It was divided into CPU, motherboard, memory, graphics card, sound card, base station/satellite network card, power supply, LCD screen, logic components, high frequency tuner, keyboard. Enhancement of these equipment required one origin point, and some require 2 origin points. If he strengthened them all, the origin points would not be enough at all. It did not seem feasible to strengthen 1 or 2 pieces of equipment alone. Tang Rui pondered for a while. Abandon the enhanced hardware and choose the enhanced software. The software was not enhanced as a whole. They were also separated. Storage management, processor management, file management, device management, job management, image system, sound system, drive system, artificial intelligence system, UAV control system, thought read system. The first thing Tang Rui saw in the large number of systems was the artificial intelligence system. Holy shit! When he chose to strengthen the artificial intelligence system, 5 origin points were deducted. What kind of concept was this? Previously, he had only spent 7 origin points to level up. In the end, a single system required 5 origin points. The next second, the virtual screen on the smart glasses refreshed. Celia's icon appeared on the screen. Celia. Wasn't this the smart assistant of his phone? Chapter 22. Who can hold on? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Celia. Yes, master. What can I do for you? Is your database local, or online? My main program is on the local hard drive, and the database is in the network data center. Tang Rui laughed after hearing that. This was Huawei's database for free. Celia, stop the external data from attacking the firewall. Stopping it. The local computing power is insufficient. There's no way to stop it. Do you want to connect to the network and use the computing power of the cloud computing platform? When Tang Rui saw Celia's feedback, he became excited. LO Celia could use the cloud computing platform. Which platform? Celia, explain in detail why you can use the cloud computing platform. Alright, master. My main program has upgraded Huawei's artificial intelligence main body. According to Celia's explanation, Tang Rui understood what was going on. Even though Celia was an artificial intelligence, she could not invade on her own. However, the problem was that Celia's original system was Huawei's artificial intelligence main body. All the smart assistants that came with Huawei phones came from feedback from Huawei's AI main body. When you use Celia, many answers were based on cloud computing and database feedback. It was not the result of the smart assistant's analysis and calculations on your phone. Which meant, Huawei's artificial intelligence main body has the authority to mobilize the computing power of Huawei's cloud computing platform. As an enhanced artificial intelligence, Celia shared the same origin as Huawei's artificial intelligence main body. There was no need to talk about the outcome. The moment Tang Rui agreed to Celia replacing Huawei's AI main body, the entire Huawei Group's cloud computing platform, big data server, and database were no longer guarded against him. This was not the most exaggerated thing. The most exaggerated thing was that the Pengcheng Cloud Brain 2 supercomputer built based on the artificial intelligence system had also changed owners. To those who did not understand, it was just a supercomputer. It was not a big deal. But the problem was, this supercomputer was connected to the National Integrated Computing Power Network. The city-level AI data center with more than 20 nodes, as well as the supercomputers and data centers of major universities, internet giants, and artificial intelligence research institutes, were all within this network. For Tang Rui, this was like a pie falling from the sky. If not for Huawei's help, if Tang Rui had changed to another artificial intelligence to enhance it, he would not have been able to enter this computational power network. It was wonderful. Through Celia, Tang Rui mobilized a supercomputer and 1 millionth of the computing resources in the district data center to launch a counterattack. In an instant, attack and defense changed positions. Previously, he was dumbfounded. Now, the people from the telecommunications security department were dumbfounded. However, they did not have an indestructible firewall. Tang Rui mobilized his computing power and directly cracked the firewall by force. He modified the server's super administrator privileges and kicked out all the people from the security department. In less than 10 seconds, the battle was over. The telecommunications server was already renamed to Tang. However, he did not make any modifications to the server, nor did he embezzle any data. He only left a message for the people in the security office. You guys don't talk about morals. You can't afford to play. It's boring. After saying that, he erased all traces, modified the system log, and restored their authority. He came and left in a flash. Only a group of dumbfounded people were left sitting in front of the computer in a daze. After Tang Rui did all this, he did not continue to invade since there was no point. With the computational power network in hand, it was a dimensional reduction attack on the internet. What kind of hacking was this? He could just log into the system's backend and open an authorization. Why did he have to fight and kill? After solving the cybersecurity staff of the telco, he began the Turing test of Celia. The results of the test as expected. Compared to the artificial intelligence in Sci-fi movies, it was far inferior. If the artificial intelligences that everyone saw on the market were stupid, in that case, the upgraded version of Celia was an imbecile. Although it was much better than artificial idiocy, it was still not comparable to a normal person. Actually, this was already very good. Celia had just finished upgrading and had not fully absorbed Huawei's huge database. She had not undergone in-depth learning. There was still a long way to go before it could reach his full form. Tang Rui was not in a hurry. Anyway, the current Celia was enough for him to use. When he was done, he began to surf the internet. It was really relaxing. For example, he could get the review authority of the cause and see what those short videos that had not been reviewed were. He could criticize them properly. Needless to say, using smart glasses to watch short videos was very effective. Especially short videos that had been processed by VR algorithms. That effect was quite amazing. Unknowingly, Tang Rui was engrossed in it. Until he was hungry at night. Only then did he clean up the traces and withdraw from the cause. At night before going to bed, he imported the upgraded Harmony OS and Celia source code into the subconscious learning device. Then, he put on his equipment and went straight to sleep. Although it was only 9 o'clock. However, he did not want to go out and fly a drone today. He only wanted to figure out the source code of these two systems. So he went to bed early. While he was asleep, Li Shuyao was a little confused. She realized that Tang Rui did not go online tonight. Not only was the computer useless, but even the phone was useless. This was a little strange. Normally speaking, he should be playing games at this time and watching those girls cross-dressing videos. Could it be that he had discovered something and changed his account? Curious, Li Shuyao searched for a long time and realized that Tang Rui was indeed not online. Because traffic monitoring did not find upload and download data. Are you asleep? She sent a WeChat message to Tang Rui, but did not get a reply. Looks like he's really asleep. How boring. After mumbling to herself, Li Shuyao returned to her bed with her phone and continued watching her drama. The night passed uneventfully. The next day, when Tang Rui woke up, his mind was filled with codes. After a night of subconscious learning, he had already grasped the source code of Harmony OS and artificial intelligence. It was very fast. It was just that all kinds of codes popped up in his mind from time to time, making him a little speechless. When he looked at his alarm clock, his brain automatically thought about how to write the code for the alarm clock program. It was inevitable. His thoughts were too active. The newest memories stored in his brain were all related to code. This situation lasted until he finished washing up and went out to eat breakfast. Back home, Tang Rui opened his phone and found the message that Li Shuyao had sent him last night. Are you asking me if I'm asleep? There was something wrong with her. Tang Rui leaned against the sofa and found Li Shuyao's phone number and Huawei account through Huawei's database. Hack. There was no such thing. This was rummaging through his own house. How could this be called hacking? He wanted to take a look at her cloud disk first. She was so full of herself that she took so many selfies. There were even photos of cosplay. Damn. She even dressed up in a black silk bunny costume. Who could withstand this? Were these photos allowed to be seen without paying? He couldn't believe that was actually Li Shuyao. Originally, he didn't have any other thoughts. However, after looking at these photos, he couldn't take it anymore. Who could reject a girlfriend who was beautiful, had a good figure, and knew how to cosplay? Chapter 23. Fighting drone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How should he pursue her? He had no experience. Celia, search for how to make a girl like you, and show me the answer with the most likes. Tang Rui thought for a while, and decided to learn from the internet. Initializing search. Swipe. A web page appeared in front of him. How to make a girl like you. Answer. Have money. Seeing this answer, Tang Rui gripped his chest. Ouch. Show me the answer with the second most likes. Okay. Swipe. The web page changed. Answer. Romance, girls like romance. To quote some lyrics. The gift doesn't need to be too expensive, just the fallen leaves of Champs-Élysées. Did you notice? To give a girl romance, you need to have money first. Damn it. Close it. Close all the web pages. Tang Rui said irritably. Okay. Celia. He leaned on the sofa and looked at the ceiling. He found that the problem had returned to the original point. He had to make money first. For him, there were many ways to make money now. The simplest and fastest way was to get some dirt on celebrities and sell it to them. But this method was illegal. Of course he couldn't do illegal things. So what was the legal, fast, and no-cost way to make money? Tang Rui thought for a long time, and finally came up with a way to make money, which was to sell the algorithm to Huawei. Was this illegal? Not exactly, but it was unethical. He had no choice. This was the fastest way to make money, and he could compensate Huawei later. Celia, give me President Yu's phone number. Okay. Tang Rui picked up his phone and dialed President Yu's number. President Yu, who was working in his office, heard his phone ring and picked it up. It was an unknown number. Hello, who's this? President Yu, hello. I am a loyal fan of Huawei phones. President Yu was confused. Thank you. What can I do for you? Well, I found that the phone camera had some problems, so I developed an image processing algorithm that can improve the clarity of photos. This algorithm is suitable for any Huawei phone, and can even be used in self-driving cars. After hearing Tang Rui's words, President Yu's expression changed. If he wasn't bluffing, then this algorithm was very valuable. I don't know if your algorithm. He didn't finish his sentence, and was interrupted by Tang Rui. I understand. After all, no one would believe this kind of thing if I just said it. I have sent the algorithm to your computer. You can arrange for technical staff to verify it. President Yu was stunned. He glanced at his computer. Sure enough, on his desktop was an extra folder. The name of this folder was Image Algorithm. Seeing this scene, President Yu gasped. Their Huawei internal network had been hacked. And this person had uploaded a file without their knowledge. President Yu, don't worry. I am a loyal fan of Huawei. You can verify the algorithm first. We'll talk later. Tang Rui finished speaking and hung up the phone. President Yu held his phone and listened to the busy tone from the receiver. He hadn't reacted yet. After a while, he came back to his senses. He quickly asked his secretary to notify the heads of the technical and information departments to come over for a meeting. Tang Rui didn't care what happened on Huawei's side. Anyway, after they verified the effect of the algorithm, they would contact him. This algorithm was a split-beggar version of the drone image processing algorithm, but it was still very valuable. But this wasn't that important, so Huawei wouldn't pay a sky-high price for it. According to his idea, he could get 8 figures for it. With this money, he would have started up capital. Establishing an arms company would no longer be a dream. What to use as the main product? Reconnaissance drone. No. The country had that too. Wuxian 8 was very awesome. At that time, it couldn't be sold abroad, and not many could be bought domestically. It was meaningless. Strike that reconnaissance integrated drone. No either. The competition for this thing was even more fierce, and he couldn't do this thing right away. After all, he didn't have the 3 certificates of military industry. He couldn't make weapons right away. So what to do with civilian drones? Delivery drone. Pesticide drone. Fire-fighting drone. Wait a minute, the foreign trade version of the fire-fighting series drone was a good idea. Tang Rui's eyes lit up as he knew what to do. Firefighting drone. If this thing was done well, it would be a surprise. He even thought of the buyer. Just sell it to Russia. After all, Russia's home had a lot of forests, and the urban street environment was complex. In this situation, if there were a drone that had strong ground reconnaissance scanning performance, could easily find the fire point in the forest and the hidden corners of the city, and carry 5 kilograms of fire extinguisher, which could accurately deliver the fire extinguisher under cover of smoke and dust, would interest Russia, right? If you improve a regular fire extinguisher by changing it to a regional spray fire extinguisher, it could spray at a fixed point in the air, and directly extinguish the area within a radius of 20 meters. Russia would be interested in this sort of drone, right? Russia would certainly buy all the units. If the cost was cheaper, this firefighting drone could definitely become a bestseller. Maybe buyers in the Middle East would be interested too. Well, that was decided. Tang Rui lay on the sofa and opened the CAD drawing software. Mind control was simply a blessing for engineers. He just had to think about it, and the drawings would be generated directly. In less than 10 minutes, shape design drawing of the drone was drawn. It was fast because this firefighting drone in his imagination was a disposable item. So there was no need to design it perfectly. The body was a 75 centimeters long cylinder with a propeller at the tail. Before launching, the wings and tail were retracted into the body, and then unfolded after launching. The wings and tail were rectangular aluminum bars, easy to install, and very cost-effective. Celia, make a 3D model based on this drawing. Modeling completed. With supercomputing, he had the world in his palm. This speed instantly generated a 3-dimensional model. How incredible! Looking at this extremely ugly drone in front of him, Tang Rui didn't feel that there was any problem. He used aluminum alloy to make the body and aluminum bars as wings. He didn't care about how ugly it was. Normally speaking, he should design the internal structure next. But he didn't do that. After all, this was his first drone he had designed. Celia, give me permission on the supercomputing platform of Comac Aircraft Design Institute. I want to use Dongfang Yufeng, an industrial-level fluid simulation model to do a wind tunnel test for the drone. Tang Rui said bossily to Celia. Permission opened, data imported, simulation modeling completed. Do you want to start testing? Start. Start with a low-speed fluid test. Test started. Tang Rui looked at the data that kept refreshing in front of him. He felt very happy. He personally thought the test was really unnecessary, but it was done this way traditionally. Anyway, it didn't cost him any electricity. Soon, the test results came out. The aerodynamic design of the drone at low speed could only be described in 2 words. Utter trash. Celia, do a high-speed fluid test. Tang Rui didn't care. He curled his lips and let Celia continue testing. Soon, the test ended. The result of this test could be described in 3 words. Complete. Utter. Trash. Chapter 24. What a coincidence you are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, Tang Rui drove away from home to purchase materials for the fighting drone. He had already checked the prices of various materials and the models of the accessories yesterday. Today, he could go directly to buy them. To be honest, he was still somewhat conscientious. For the body of the fighting drone, he didn't use the cheapest materials but opted for 6051.T6 grade aluminum alloy instead. This aluminum alloy cost around 20 yuan per kilogram. Of course, he spent a bit more here, which meant he had to make up for it from other places. So, he decided to change the originally planned turbine engine to a brushless motor-driven propeller engine. Initially, he wanted to buy the 18 yuan version, but found it didn't have enough power and couldn't carry the load. Finally, after a lot of searching, he settled on a waterproof version of an Outrunner brushless motor for 150 yuan. This was already considered a significant expense and the second most expensive component for the fighting drone. As for the most expensive part, it was undoubtedly the electro-optical system. No matter how he tried to save money in other areas, he couldn't compromise on the electro-optical system, otherwise, the drone would become nothing more than a toy. The complete electro-optical system cost 780 yuan, with the lens alone costing 220 yuan, but it was necessary to buy it. In addition to the steering motor, flight control mainboard, processor, and other accessories, the total cost of building the fighting drone reached 1,282.5 yuan. At first glance, it didn't seem expensive. But when you have a large quantity, it becomes costly. According to his plan, these fighting drones would be flying in hundreds at the same time, Otherwise, operating just a dozen of them individually would have little effect. So, for his first material purchase, he bought enough materials for 64 drones, spending a total of 82,080 yuan. It burned a huge hole in his pocket. He had already used up 1/8 of the money in his grandma's bank card. Besides buying the materials, he also rented a small villa with a yard. There was no other choice as his house couldn't hold so many things. The drones couldn't fit in there now, let alone considering future projects. This kind of villa with a yard was the most suitable for him. Speaking of this small villa, it reminded him of a regretful incident. He remembered that the villas in this area were being sold for only 4,288 yuan per square meter. They didn't sell well for almost half a year. Back then, his father wanted to buy one and even chose a house. But due to a quarrel, his parents divorced, and the chance to buy that beautiful villa was lost. Even if they bought the villa before the divorce, it would have been fine. The more he thought about it, the more upset he became. So, he decided to call his grandmother in the evening and tell her that his father hadn't contacted him for a month. After this whole morning of running around, he had spent tens of thousands of yuan. Spending this much money made Tang Rui feel a bit uneasy. After all, he was used to frugal living. Now, spending so much money at once, he found it a bit hard to handle. Even the beef noodles at lunch didn't taste as good. Celia, has Huawei made any progress in verifying the algorithm? While having lunch, Tang Rui thought about money and naturally thought about Huawei. It had already been a whole day, and there was still no news from Huawei. Without any money coming in, he felt uncertain. Do you wish to investigate the relevant information about Huawei's algorithm? It's not the information about the algorithm itself. I want to know if Huawei has verified the image algorithm I sent them yesterday. I do not understand. Ugh. Although you are an AI, you still need improvement. Retrieve the directory of reports submitted to Huawei from last night until today. Understood. I am collecting and organizing the information. Finally, he was understood. Whoosh. A long list of report titles appeared before him. Search for the keywords image algorithm and filter out irrelevant information. Done. Only 7 reports remained, and one of them was a summary report about the image algorithm. Tang Rui opened it to take a look. After updating the image algorithm, the photo quality improved on average by 1.6 times without replacing any hardware. Especially for long-distance shooting optimization, it reached an astonishing 3 times improvement. However, the technology department also pointed out that the image algorithm was not complete yet. It was still lacking image recognition and image analysis algorithms. After reading the report, Tang Rui felt like giving the technology department at Huawei a thumbs up. The report was correct. What he sold to Huawei was a split version of the algorithm, and it was a poor version at that. Clear photos didn't matter much. Clarity was essential for humans, but for machines, the key was whether the machine could recognize the information in the photos. Especially for unmanned driving systems, machine recognition was critical. Without machine recognition, even if you had clear photos, they would be useless. However, he wasn't in a hurry to sell these algorithms. After all, actively selling something was different from others begging you to buy it. It wasn't just about having the upper hand, but also about the psychological gap. Finally, he checked the time the report was uploaded. Well. At 3:27 a.m. this morning. Indeed, it was Huawei. They sure worked hard. Now that the testing report was out, the higher-ups at Huawei should be discussing it in meetings. With this in mind, Tang Rui wasn't in a rush anymore. After finishing lunch, as he was preparing to go home to work on the fighting drones, Officer Chen called him. He asked if Tang Rui had time. If he did, he should come to the police station to collect his reward. How could he not have time when there was money to be collected? Tang Rui immediately agreed and rushed to the police station. Arriving at Officer Chen's office, he knocked on the door. "Come in." Tang Rui pushed open the door and took a look inside. "What's going on? Have all the officers here turned into pandas? Why did everyone have such dark circles under their eyes, like they haven't slept for half a month?" There were more than a dozen police officers in the office, and each of them had darker circles under their eyes than the others. Thankfully, they were all young officers. They could still hold up. But if they were over 40, they would probably need rescuing. "Tang Rui is here. Sorry to keep you waiting. Let me finish watching this video, then I'll take you to the finance department." Officer Chen, with his panda eyes, said with a weary tone. "It's alright, if you're busy, I'm not in a hurry." Tang Rui said nonchalantly. Seeing the situation, he knew they must be dealing with something important, otherwise, they wouldn't look so tired. So, he found a spot and sat down, waiting for Officer Chen. However, he was still very curious. What exactly was happening? So, he looked at Officer Chen's computer screen. Video surveillance footage. Or footage from traffic lights. Was he watching videos to search for something related to vehicles? Tang Rui couldn't quite understand. After glancing at it for a moment, he decided not to bother. It seemed boring. He sat there idly with nothing to do. His eyes began to wander aimlessly. Suddenly, he came across a piece of information. And it was a rather shocking one. Dong Jing, female, 25 years old, ID number. Cause of death. Suffocation. Time of death. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. on the 4th, the facial area of the body was severely damaged, and there was evidence of sexual abuse. This was the text that was visible in the information, and the rest was blocked by a photo. And that photo was of the deceased, taken by the forensic team at the place where the body was discovered. But that wasn't the crucial part. The most crucial thing was that the person in the photo looked strangely familiar. However, among the people he knew, there was definitely no one named Dong Jing. Tang Rui furrowed his brow, thought about it for a while, checked the people he knew, and then started checking the female anchors he followed. "What are you thinking about? Let's go, let's get the money." Officer Chen walked over, patting Tang Rui's shoulder. "Oh. Sure." Tang Rui was taken aback for a moment and then got up to follow him out of the office. "Chen, what's going on here? Everyone looks like they're about to die from exhaustion." On the way to the finance department, Tang Rui curiously asked. "Let's not talk about it. We've been watching surveillance footage for 3 days, our eyes are sore." Officer Chen waved his hand, looking like he might puke just thinking about surveillance. 3 days. And you still haven't found the suspect or the culprit. Let alone 3 days, at this rate, it'll take another month to see if we can find any leads. Can't you use facial recognition? We can't even recognize what the murderer looks like. How can we use facial recognition? Can you tell me about it? Does it violate any rules? There's nothing we can't talk about. It's just that a few days ago, a woman was killed, and we still haven't found any suspects. All we know so far is that she went to a bar that night and encountered someone who may have been a rich heir or a tycoon. She was trying to lure someone rich but ended up being lured into something herself. Lure someone rich. Tang Rui suddenly remembered. No wonder he found the deceased familiar. Balenciaga stockings. Silver-colored short dress. Wasn't she the woman he had photographed sitting in the company pilot's seat last week, saying she was trying to lure a rich person? Who would have thought that she would disappear that night? What a coincidence. The clues the police were looking for were right here with him. Chapter 25. The police's order for drones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 25. The police's order for drones arriving at the finance office, Tang Rui took out his ID, took a photo, and signed. The 300,000 yuan reward was directly deposited into his bank account without any delay. Thank you again for your assistance to our police force. I have some other matters to attend to, so I won't accompany you any further, Officer Chen said to Tang Rui after receiving the reward and leaving the finance office. He did have other tasks at hand, continuing to watch surveillance footage to find clues. Chen, are you now searching for clues in the murder of Dong Jing? Tang Rui asked. Yes, how did you know? Chen wondered. I saw the materials you had under your desk. Ah, yes, I'm investigating this case. It's enough that you know, just don't spread it around. Well, I certainly won't, but what if I could provide some crucial information about the murder? Would there be a reward? Tang Rui wasn't being greedy, but he would have still handed over the videos he had filmed to the police even if there were no rewards. However, if there was a reward, there was no harm in asking. There will definitely be a reward, but this case is different from a wanted criminal reward, there's no specific reward posted. However, if you can provide important information, there will be a reward for sure, Officer Chen replied with a smile. He didn't really think Tang Rui could find any information about the killer, he just thought Tang Rui was eager because of the recent reward he had received. Having a reward is enough. I don't care about the amount, Tang Rui said. Alright, if you do find any information, you can contact me directly. Chen, I have a video of her riding in a car that night. Who? You mean the deceased? Yeah. Seeing Tang Rui nod confidently, Officer Chen was a bit puzzled. Where's the video? Here. Tang Rui took out his phone and showed the video he had filmed that night. The video clearly showed the license plate number of the car the deceased was riding in and the appearance of the driver. The video was of high quality, even capturing the letters on the stockings the deceased was wearing. After watching the video, Officer Chen fell silent. They had worked hard, staying up late and working overtime for 3 days, and still couldn't find any clues. Now, Tang Rui comes along and presents the evidence right in front of them. If I had known earlier, I should have asked you to come and claim the reward on Monday, Officer Chen thought to himself. Let's go. Follow me to see the captain. Sure. Tang Rui followed Officer Chen to the Criminal Investigation Division, to the captain's office. In less than 10 minutes, the captain came down from his office upstairs. Tang Rui, thank you so much. Once again, you've helped our police force a great deal. Don't mention it. I was just testing the tracking and recording capabilities of the drone. It was just a coincidence. Tang Rui humbly replied. He didn't know how his luck worked. Every time he flew the drone, something happened. Other people flew drones too, but not like him. In fact, at this moment, the captain was even more moved than Tang Rui. Last time, it was about a wanted criminal, and now it's about clues in a murder case. Tang Rui's drone had been of great help to their police force. Especially in this case, they were under tremendous pressure. But now, things were different. With the video provided by Tang Rui, the suspect's appearance was clear, making it much easier to find him. Tang Rui, do you have time now? The captain asked. I do. Great, come to my office. I want to consult you about drones. Sure. Upon hearing this, Tang Rui's eyes lit up. The captain wanting to talk to him about drones wasn't about some minor issue like flying without airspace permission. It seemed that the police had seen the potential of drones and had some ideas. Arriving at the captain's office, after the secretary served tea and sat down in the back, ready to record whatever was discussed, Tang Rui also didn't drink tea, waiting for the leader's questions. Don't be nervous. I won't hold you accountable for flying the drone without permission, but you must apply for permission in advance in the future. I promised to apply for permission in advance, Tang Rui quickly nodded. This meant that the matter was over. I realized the importance of drones from these two incidents. Our police force does have drones, but their performance is somewhat lacking. When I saw the video you showed, although I don't understand the technical details, I know that your drone is definitely exceptional. So, I want to ask, where did you buy your drone? The captain was quite curious. The various drone companies they had approached claimed that their drones didn't meet the required standards, so where did Tang Rui get his? Captain, I didn't buy my drone, I made it myself. It was a coincidence that these two incidents happened while I was testing the drone. You made the drone yourself? The captain was surprised. Yes, I majored in aircraft design and engineering in college, so I'm quite specialized in this field, Tang Rui replied without hesitation. Though the drone had assistance from the system panel, he had still worked hard to develop it. Amazing. I didn't expect your technical skills to surpass those of many companies in the country. However, this does complicate things a bit, the captain said, frowning. The police wanted to procure drones, which wasn't a problem, but they had to go through the proper channels and purchase from commercial sources, not from a private individual. Captain, I'm currently preparing to establish an aircraft manufacturing company. I wonder if I can participate in the bidding process. Tang Rui immediately suggested. The police's procurement contract was a gold mine. While an order for one city might not amount to much, when you consider all the cities nationwide, the numbers would become astronomical. It would be very lucrative. Of course, you can, the captain said, turning to the secretary and instructing, get a copy of the previous tender documents. The secretary got up to fetch the documents. Soon, the documents were handed to Tang Rui. As long as your drone can meet these specifications and win our police force's procurement contract, there won't be any problem, the captain said with a smile. Tang Rui quickly glanced through the documents. Wow! This was like a custom-made deal for him. Besides him, no other drone company in the country could produce this. The specifications aren't a problem, I can make it, Tang Rui said confidently. That's great. Register the company as soon as possible and provide a prototype. If the prototype meets the specifications, we can give you an advance payment, the captain considered all aspects. He was worried that Tang Rui might not have enough money, so he proposed an advance payment. As for the prototype, he already had it. Thank you, sir, Tang Rui wasn't foolish, he knew the captain was looking out for him. Thank you for your help to our police force. You're welcome. Nowadays, we promote police-citizen cooperation to build a better community. Great. Xiao Zhang, give him your number. If he needs anything, he can call you directly. Sure, sir. I won't bother you any longer. You're busy. Okay, Xiao Zhang, see him out. Tang Rui left the municipal bureau, feeling ecstatic, as if he was walking on air. Not only did he come to the municipal bureau to receive a reward, but he also got the secretary's number and a procurement order from the police. The fighting drones had not been launched yet, but he already received orders from the police. Life was truly unpredictable. In fact, compared to the police's order, he still preferred to focus on the fighting drones. But he needed to make money first. Chapter 26. President Yu is here. We have the money to buy a villa. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the subway ride home, Tang Rui sat in his seat, head lowered. To others, it seemed like he was resting, or possibly even asleep. In reality, he was just trying to hide the screen of his smart glasses from the people around him. At this moment, he was designing a drone. The police's requirements for the drone's performance weren't particularly high, except for some slightly demanding specifications for the electro-optical system. For Tang Rui, that was no problem at all. However, the issue arose with the other systems. He couldn't build a drone for the police using the same high-performance features as his own custom drone. It was unnecessary and would undoubtedly be expensive. Although he hadn't calculated the exact cost of building his own drone with existing equipment, he was sure it wouldn't be lower than the cost of a Wing Long 2 drone, which was priced at $2 million for dog owners. This price would be unacceptable for the police, so he had to redesign a drone and keep only the electro-optical system while simplifying everything else. The engine would be replaced with propellers for simplicity, ease of maintenance, and durability. As for the avionics system, he would reduce some performance features, as they didn't meet military-grade specifications. Reducing these configurations would significantly lower the price. Changing some equipment and reducing performance could lead to a directly usable drone. The only thing he needed to do was redesign the drone's aerodynamic shape. He couldn't simply copy the stealth design of his custom drone, that would be absurd. When did fugitives and criminals start having anti-aircraft radars? Furthermore, stealth design would sacrifice aerodynamic layout and reduce the lift coefficient, which was entirely unnecessary. As the maximum curvature of the middle arc reaches 8.9%, the maximum lift coefficient is 1.8 when the angle of attack is 12 degrees. As Tang Rui's thoughts flowed, the design on the screen continued to enrich. If someone knowledgeable in the field saw the drawings, they would know what he was drawing. It was the most classic and the highest lift coefficient concave-convex wing. Without even 15 minutes passing, Tang Rui had drawn a rough sketch of the entire drone body shape. It looked somewhat like a slimmed-down version of a civil airliner. This design was the most stable and had the highest lift coefficient in subsonic conditions. Tang Rui casually asked Celia, "Do you know why I placed the wings underneath the fuselage?" Celia immediately searched and compiled a bunch of data based on his question, under-wing layout, high lift-to-drag ratio. However, this wasn't what he wanted to know. He was just testing whether Celia had made any progress in these 2 days. Unfortunately, there was no change, the answers were still rigid. That's enough. If you don't understand how to design it, just create a 3D model of this blueprint. Okay, currently creating permission, uploading data, building the model, starting the test. Tang Rui didn't pay much attention to Celia's testing data because it wasn't important. These were aerodynamic layouts that had been verified for many years, and there wouldn't be any problems. While wandering around the small courtyard of the villa, he was contemplating the layout of the workspace. The rental villa he was in now mostly suited his preferences. The total building area was 386 square meters, with 1 underground floor and 2 above-ground floors, along with an attic and a large balcony above. However, the attic, balcony, and small courtyard were part of the gifted area and not included in the building area. If he had bought it back then. Forget it, he didn't want to think about that. What he was considering now was whether he should directly renovate the workspace. With the assistance of the system panel and Celia, a semi-finished artificial intelligence, he could easily create an Iron Man-style workshop. However, the problem was that the villa wasn't his. Should he buy it? It felt a bit small. After all, once the money from Huawei arrived, he could easily buy a larger villa. Buzz. Just as he was contemplating whether to buy the villa or not, his phone vibrated. He didn't need to take out his phone as the number displayed directly on his smart glasses. It was President Yu calling. The money had arrived. President Yu, hello. Mr. Tang, hello. I hope I'm not disturbing you. On the other end of the call, President Yu directly addressed him by his surname. Tang Rui found it quite normal, considering he hadn't changed his number since their last conversation. For a company like Huawei, it would be easy to find out his phone number. No, you're not disturbing me. I just arrived home and am resting on the couch. That's good to hear. If you're available, could we pay you a visit? If not, we've already booked a hotel conference room, and you can come there. We mainly want to discuss the image algorithm in person. That explains why they called him now, they were checking if he was still in Nanjing. That's convenient. You can come directly here. After Tang Rui provided his address, he exchanged a few polite words and hung up the phone. President Yu and the others were still at the airport, and it would take them about an hour to reach his place. The moment he thought about the money he could earn from selling the algorithm, enough to buy a villa and start a company, his admiration for President Yu skyrocketed like crazy. With President Yu's arrival, he would have the money to buy the villa. The initial capital wouldn't be a problem anymore. President Yu was coming. He needed to prepare some tea and fruits or something as a treat. He couldn't have nothing to offer. Thinking about this, Tang Rui quickly got up and went out to buy things. After all, they were coming to bring him money. He had to maintain his dignity. Chapter 27. Everyone take a step back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 1 hour later. On the coffee table in the villa's living room, a fruit platter had been arranged. Tang Rui had also opened the packaging of the premium tea he just bought, and the hot water was ready. Now, he was waiting for President Yu and his team to arrive. As he kept muttering to himself, he heard a honk outside the villa. Tang Rui peeked out and saw President Yu getting out of a business car. He quickly opened the door and went out to welcome them. "Welcome, President Yu and all the members from Huawei," Tang Rui greeted them with a sincere smile, using the term welcome even though they were at his villa. Seeing Tang Rui's warm reception, President Yu was a bit taken aback. "You are too polite, it's not a formal visit. We are imposing." "No, not at all. I'm really happy that you and the distinguished members from Huawei are here. After all, I am a loyal fan of Huawei," Tang Rui replied with a cheerful smile. Tang Rui introduced himself to the head of the technical department, Mr. Kong, and the other key members of the department. They were all impressed with Tang Rui's technical skills, which was the main reason President Yu had brought them here. Tang Rui was asked if he liked playing with model aircraft, pointing towards the unmanned drone in the living room. Tang Rui casually responded that he loved it, especially considering he studied aerospace engineering, and playing with such a model was in line with his profession. President Yu and his team were surprised to learn about Tang Rui's background in aerospace engineering. They had not anticipated this. "No offense, but I didn't expect that you, Mr. Tang, would have such strong expertise in information technology," President Yu said, slightly surprised. Tang Rui shrugged modestly. "Not really, it's just average. I mainly learned it to protect my computer from being hacked." President Yu and Mr. Kong were at a loss for words, as they didn't know how to respond to that. It felt like a bit of self-deprecating humor. After some pleasantries, the topic of the image algorithm was brought up. Tang Rui revealed that the image algorithm he had was not complete, consisting of image processing, recognition, analysis, and coding. Mr. Kong acknowledged this and explained that they were interested in the algorithm, but they were equally keen on the information about the system vulnerabilities within Huawei's OS. After a moment of thought, Tang Rui held up 5 fingers, signaling a price of 50 million yuan for the algorithm. However, President Yu frowned at the price, feeling that it was a bit high. "Mr. Tang, to be honest, this price is a little high." "This is high." Tang Rui also frowned. Wasn't Huawei rich? They couldn't even afford this number. "How about this, Mr. Tang? Let's each take a step back. The algorithm money, plus the loopholes in Huawei's system, a total of 300 million, how about it? Deal." Tang Rui did not hesitate at all and said firmly and decisively. President Yu. Lo. Mr. Kong. The others. And so the deal was sealed. "Mr. Tang, may I ask how you entered our Huawei system?" President Yu asked. They really couldn't fathom this. Since yesterday, the people in the information technology department had started pulling their hair out. No matter how hard they tried, he couldn't find any traces of a hack. Tang Rui hesitated for a moment, buying time while he contacted Celia, asking it to gather information about the differences between the reinforced Harmony OS on the system panel and the current Huawei Group's Harmony OS code, then detect how the code variations affected the system's execution. Finding the right words to describe the infiltration, Tang Rui asked if he could demonstrate it on his computer instead. President Yu and his team agreed, knowing they wouldn't fully understand his explanations. President Yu and the others smiled when they saw the system on the laptop screen. Tang Rui was telling the truth. After all, the phone, computer, and even the computer system were all from Huawei. How could he not be a fan of Huawei? After delaying for a while, Xiaoyi had already compared a lot of different codes. There were many loopholes in the system. Tang Rui used a system vulnerability that was truly in the Huawei OS, but exploiting it for infiltration would still be challenging. However, he wasn't worried, as he had Celia's assistance. Celia had already compared the codes and found several system vulnerabilities. Tang Rui used one of them to demonstrate his intrusion into Huawei's system. The technical members from Huawei couldn't see Tang Rui's actions on the computer screen, but they gathered around, intrigued by his demonstration. They couldn't comprehend everything, but Tang Rui was unfazed, knowing that he indeed used Huawei's system vulnerability. The deal was made, and they had the information they wanted. Tang Rui felt a bit excited about how smoothly everything went. Tap tap. The keyboard was vigorously tapped by Tang Rui, and lines of code kept refreshing. "Alright, I'm in." Tang Rui spread his hands and said to the few people around him. Sigh. The few technical experts were all dumbfounded. They couldn't understand. They could follow the earlier steps, but as it progressed, it became incomprehensible to them. The main issue was that they couldn't understand why the false information sent by Tang Rui hadn't been detected. Where did the problem occur? It shouldn't be like this. Chapter 28. Great Feast with Alcohol. Life is great. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do you know where the problem is? Mr. Kong looked at Tang Rui after he finished explaining and turned his head to ask the technical support. I understood the front part but didn't understand the back part. The technical support answered while scratching his head. What could he do? He was also desperate. The system was hacked in front of him, but he couldn't understand it. This made him lose face. Mr. Tang, the system problem is a fundamental problem for Huawei. Could I trouble you to give us a lesson and tell us where the system is wrong? Mr. Kong had no choice but to swallow his pride and ask Tang Rui. After all, his own technical support was not skilled enough. No problem. Tang Rui agreed very happily. In fact, he felt a bit sorry for these technical staff. It's not that they were not good enough. But he opened the system anyway. Actually, there are still a lot of loopholes in Harmony OS, such as this. Tang Rui retrieved the source code of Harmony OS and started to explain one by one. He didn't say how he hacked in, but pointed out the system's loopholes. As for the hacking method, let them make up their own minds. This lecture lasted for an hour. At first, President Yu and Mr. Kong were listening, but their faces were not very good. But after listening for a while, their faces turned iron blue, and then they went aside, took out their phones and started sending messages. Ahem. After talking for an hour, Tang Rui's throat felt a bit dry. Let's do this. I'll sort out the system loopholes and let you go back and study it yourself. Thanks for the trouble, Mr. Tang. Would you consider joining us at Hua? President Yu asked with some expectation, but his words were interrupted by Tang Rui before he finished speaking. Thank you for your kindness, President Yu, but don't talk about joining Huawei. I'm going to start my own drone company. Join Huawei. Was that a joke? He just wanted to make some money, and he had no plans to join Huawei. Don't talk about his system. Even if he didn't have a system, he wouldn't want to work a 9.2.9 job, 6 days per week. Otherwise, he would have gone to work after graduating from college, but he hadn't up till now. That's a pity, but thank you so much for your help. President Yu saw Tang Rui's expression and saw that he was adamant, so he didn't continue to speak. Tang Rui asked Xiaoyi to sort out the spliced version of the algorithm and the information of Harmony OS loopholes, and then stored them in a hard disk. After all, both presidents were there. He was not good at directly hacking into their system and transferring data over. They also needed face, right? There's nothing to say next. President Yu and his party took over the hard disk and said they would transfer the money to Tang Rui's account tomorrow. Then they left with their people. After leaving Tang Rui's house, President Yu ordered the driver to go straight to the airport. Stay at a hotel. He couldn't stay any longer and rushed back overnight. HQ had already made preparations. No one could leave if they worked overtime tonight. Tang Rui didn't know about these things. Even if he knew, he didn't care. He was wandering around in the living room, his mouth almost curled up. 300 million. How unbelievable. Even if he didn't make money in the future, he didn't have to worry about it in his life. No way. He couldn't calm down. Tang Rui took out his phone, opened the phone book, found Zhou Tao's phone number, and dialed it. I'm in a good mood today. I'll treat you to a big meal. A big meal. Did you win the lottery? Just say if you're coming or not. Where are you going? Donghai Fishing Port. I'm leaving now. Wait for me. Tang Rui went out directly. Because he was going to drink later, he planned to take the subway over and not drive. I don't know if it's because I have money now. He looked at the broken Havel car in the yard and didn't like it no matter how he looked at it. He had to change cars. After getting the money tomorrow, he would go pick up a new car immediately. 40 minutes later, Tang Rui arrived at Donghai Fishing Port. Here. Zhou Tao had already arrived. He waved his hand to signal when he saw Tang Rui. Why don't you go in? Tang Rui looked at Zhou Tao, who was sweating, and was a bit confused. It's hot outside, and you don't go in to enjoy the air conditioning. Waiting outside will fry your brain. Damn. You're really going to eat here? Zhou Tao was also confused. He thought Tang Rui had set it here for a meeting. Who would have thought that Tang Rui really wanted to eat here? Nonsense. Why are we here if not to eat? Did you strike it rich? I guess. Damn. I'm going to have a good meal today. Let's go. I'm not short of money now. The two asked for a small private room and ordered 8 dishes. While it might seem like a lot, they were all seafood, and each dish did not amount to much. Have you been busy lately? After ordering the dishes and entering the private room, Tang Rui casually asked. What do you think? My supervisor harasses me daily. Those who don't know better might think that our company has accepted some national project, Zhou Tao complained with a pained expression. Didn't you say you were going to jump ship before? Why haven't you done so? Ugh, don't talk about it. I was going to, but the other company is even trashier, so I might as well stay. Enough about me. What have you been up to? Did you really strike it rich? Or are you here to ask me for something? I'm rich now, so I want to invite you to dinner. Are you satisfied with this answer? You've grown up in a short time, and you're so filial. F***ck off. The two chatted for a while, then the restaurant's dishes came up. The crabs looked very appetizing. There was nothing more to say, so they started eating. Waiter, please bring us a carton of beer. Okay, please wait a moment. After gnawing on 2 crabs, Tang Rui discovered that something was lacking. It turned out that there was no wine, so he ordered some as well. Bottoms up. Cheers. After the wine came up, the two started to drink. Tang Rui had good alcohol tolerance. He could handle 8 ounces of Chinese white spirit and half a carton of beer. Zhou Tao was even better at drinking than him. The two of them finished the carton of beer with ease. Eating, drinking, and bragging together. Men's happiness was that simple. They were only done with dinner at 9 p.m. Tang Rui drank just enough to be in a somewhat hazy but still clear state of mind. After settling the bill, Tang Rui casually opened his WeChat moments to take a look. Li Shuyao was still working overtime. In her WeChat moments, Li Shuyao shared a photo of herself making coffee in the office. The caption read, "Didn't have dinner tonight. I can't eat supper either, so I can only rely on coffee." Tang Rui didn't know what drove him to do what he was about to do next. He directly posted several photos of a seafood feast taken before dinner. The caption read, "Small gathering with a friend today. We had a great feast and alcohol. Life is great." After posting, he felt like something was not quite right. But it didn't matter. This was how he felt after drinking. Even if his mind was clear, the actions he took might not necessarily be rational. Chapter 29. Prototype design completed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm leaving. You should go back and rest early too, don't wander around in random places. Tang Rui waved at Zhou Tao and said. Do you want me to walk you back? Are you for real? I don't need you to accompany me. There's no problem. Are you sure? If you're really sober, show me the technique of the Fourier transform. Get lost. Zhou Tao waved dismissively and walked away. After he left, Tang Rui also hailed a cab and went home. On the other side, after finishing reading a chat record without finding any clues, Li Shuyao sighed helplessly. Picking up her phone, she was about to send a message to her mother, saying she might have to work late at the office tonight. But after sending the message, she casually opened her WeChat moments and saw the photos of the seafood feast that Tang Rui had posted. Gasp. Li Shuyao took a deep breath. Don't get angry. Don't get angry. He probably didn't do it on purpose. *CK, the timing of his social media post was right after she posted hers, and he was having a seafood feast, saying life was good. Wasn't it obvious? If it were just another time, she wouldn't be so annoyed. The key was, the clue they had received at work was captured by Tang Rui. And as a result, she had to work overtime because of the information he had provided. But here he was, having dinner and drinking with a friend, deliberately making her angry with his social media post. Li Shuyao dialed his number directly. But the phone kept ringing, and no one answered. Li Shuyao felt helpless. Is this how you treat someone you're dating? He didn't even send her a WeChat message or call for 4 to 5 days. It wasn't easy for her to post something on WeChat, and he even deliberately went against her. Did he just get out of elementary school? Even middle schoolers were better at flirting than him, he deserved to be single. As for Tang Rui not answering the phone, it's not intentional, he just fell asleep. He went straight to bed after getting home. His phone was on silent mode, and even if it weren't, he probably wouldn't have heard it. The next day, Tang Rui woke up. He felt refreshed and didn't have a hangover. After all, he only drank beer yesterday, it didn't have much after effect and didn't get him too drunk. A bit of alcohol, diluted with some water, goes a long way. He picked up his phone. Seeing the call from Li Shuyao, he felt a bit puzzled. Why did she call at almost 10 p.m.? Did she want to go on a date? That shouldn't be the case. Tang Rui thought for a moment and sent a WeChat message to Li Shuyao. Sorry. I drank yesterday and slept early, so I didn't hear your call. Do you need something? After sending the message, he went to freshen up. But when he finished washing up and had breakfast, he still hadn't received a reply from Li Shuyao. Never mind. He continued with his work. Although he was about to become a wealthy person, he still needed to do what needed to be done. He had already finished the drone's body that the police had ordered yesterday. Today, he's working on the internal design. As for production, he would definitely outsource it to manufacturers. If it were only 1 or 2 drones, he could make them on his own. But for such a large order, he couldn't. Not to mention the police order, even for firefighting drones, he wouldn't be able to make them himself. The reason he purchased so many components for firefighting drones was to make a batch and test their effectiveness. If it was not feasible, he could directly use the system to upgrade. After all, the cost of firefighting drones was too extravagant. Without conducting experiments, he wouldn't feel at ease. The police drone order didn't require such complex procedures. With mature aerodynamic layouts, equipment, and components tested in the market, as long as the system worked well, there was no need to worry about its performance. Tang Rui worked until 11 o'clock, and he completed the avionics system. However, he hadn't conducted simulations yet. At this moment, President Yu called, asking him to review the contracts. If everything was fine, he could sign them, and the finance department would release the payment. Tang Rui opened his email and checked the 2 contracts sent by Huawei. There were no complicated terms. The first contract was a simple technology transfer agreement. The second contract offered a reward for optimizing Harmony OS. Both contracts were fine, and he didn't find any traps. In fact, he wasn't afraid that Huawei would deceive him. If that were the case, he wouldn't be the one regretting it. After signing the contracts, Tang Rui sent them back to Huawei. President Yu immediately called and informed him that the finance department had arranged the payment. In less than 15 minutes, he received a bank notification on his phone. "I'm rich." Tang Rui jumped up with excitement. This time, he really received the money. He was thrilled, even more than last night. "Celia, conduct simulation testing, and let me know if there are any issues." "Sure, currently conducting system simulation testing." After arranging things, Tang Rui didn't rush to work on the drone. He went straight out and took a taxi to a car dealership. He was planning to change his car. However, he didn't intend to buy a gasoline-powered car but rather an electric vehicle. He was interested in the Wanjia M7. The reason for choosing this model was mainly due to its compatibility. For other manufacturers' cars, he would have to redo the system optimization. He also had concerns about their intelligent driving systems. But if he bought the Wanjia M7, he could directly upgrade its system and intelligent driving capabilities. Currently, even an L5 level intelligent driving system couldn't match the enhancements Celia received after the system panel strengthening. Besides, in case he ran out of money one day, he could sell the autonomous driving system to Huawei and make some extra profit. Arriving at the car dealership, Tang Rui directly inquired about available cars, as he wanted to take one right away. "Sir, currently we only have black, white, and sky blue in stock. Do you have a preference?" "Just the black one." "I'll take it right away." "Where do I make the payment?" "Please follow me, sir." The salesperson almost burst out laughing. There's rarely such good fortune. After paying the money and getting the car, Tang Rui, guided by the store's staff, went to pay the taxes and get the license plate, and finally purchase a full set of insurance. Altogether, he had spent a little over 400,000. But he didn't mind spending this money at all. After all, he was now rich. When he returned home, Celia had already completed the system testing. All the simulation results were flawless. Tang Rui wasn't surprised at all. Convert the models into drawings and store them by category. Understood, currently categorizing the data. Although Celia was still a bit dim-witted, as a work assistant, it was quite impressive. At least in organizing data, it was really impressive. The police drone's design was finished, but he didn't plan to manufacture it himself. He didn't even want to build the prototype. Firstly, it would be troublesome. With the equipment he currently had, he couldn't even make the drone's body, let alone the complex avionics system. He needed a dust-free workshop, and he had no idea where to find one. Secondly, it wasn't interesting. He liked high-altitude, high-speed jet aircraft. These propeller-driven planes didn't excite him at all. So, after some thought, he decided to visit his school. He wanted to ask for help from his professors. Though South China University of Technology wasn't incredibly famous, it was one of the defense-oriented universities, so it had sufficient resources. Coupled with the significant order from the police, both he and the manufacturer would profit. It would be a win-win situation. So, asking the professor to help him find a company wouldn't be asking for personal favors. Besides, when manufacturing the prototype, he would pay for it. It's not like he was trying to get something for free. Chapter 30. Professor, help me find a manufacturer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Celia, replace Harmony OS and the smart driving system, and add image algorithms and a smart assistant program. Before leaving, Tang Rui asked Celia to update the car's system. In fact, according to his plan, he wanted to modify the entire car and then upgrade it with the system panel. Although it would involve a lot of work, the car would undoubtedly be much safer after the system panel upgrade. However, upon reflection, he decided not to do it that way. If he were to proceed as planned, he would have to retain the original engine, chassis, and frame. After all, the identification numbers for these components had already been registered at the Vehicle Registration Office. Modifying a vehicle without proper authorization was illegal, and if anything went wrong, it could lead to significant trouble. So he only asked Celia to update the system program. As for the car modification, he would build his own car in some time. In a flash, the system update was complete. Tang Rui drove the new car to South China University of Technology. When he arrived, it was just after the second afternoon class had ended. At this time, his professor should have returned to the office. Sure enough, as Tang Rui arrived at the professor's office, he coincidentally met the professor coming back. Professor Chen, it's been a while. Tang Rui greeted him with a smile. Tang Rui, why did you come back? You've already graduated. Seeing Tang Rui, Professor Chen looked somewhat surprised. After all, he had graduated, so why did he come back? Hee. I specifically came back to see you. Tang Rui replied with a grin. Alright, I'll treat it as you came back to see me, but who comes to visit without bringing anything? Usually, those who come knocking are troublemakers. Professor Chen joked without caring much. They were familiar with each other. Otherwise, Tang Rui wouldn't have come to ask for his help. You guessed it right. I did come here to seek your help. Seeking my help. You've already graduated, why are you asking a regular professor like me for help? Yes, I designed a drone and would like your opinion. Really? You designed a drone? Yes, I'm planning to start a company, and the product will be drones. Amazing. Where are the blueprints? Show them to me quickly. Professor Chen was very excited, even more so than Tang Rui. It's this drone. Tang Rui took out a portable hard drive, connected it to the computer, and opened the files. At first glance, Professor Chen knew that Tang Rui's aerodynamic design was fine. After all, it was a classic aerodynamic design that had been researched extensively. Trying to make any changes to such a classic aerodynamic design was quite challenging. But Tang Rui's design simply copied the classic design without any fancy modifications. While Professor Chen was reviewing the blueprints, he nodded. Although the design wasn't particularly innovative, it was stable and didn't have any potential issues. Moreover, from the data marked on the blueprints, it was evident that Tang Rui had a solid foundation, and all aspects had been taken into consideration. 20 minutes later, after reviewing the blueprints, Professor Chen turned to look at Tang Rui. The design is excellent, and your foundation is solid. You didn't make it showy or add any fancy elements, which is very good. As for the avionics system, I won't say much since it's not my expertise, but from your annotations, it seems fine. However, let me be blunt, although your drone design is flawless in all aspects, it lacks novelty. If you're really planning to start a company, the competitiveness of this drone model may be insufficient. Professor Chen expressed all his thoughts honestly. He spoke sincerely. Don't worry, Professor. This drone is specially designed for a client. Once it's produced, it will sell well. Tang Rui felt touched. After all, Professor Chen was just his university teacher, and the fact that he shared so much advice was already quite good. The client's requirements. According to the configuration of this drone, it seems to be for civilian use. But civilian drones don't need such advanced specifications. Professor Chen was puzzled. It's an order from the police. Tang Rui said with a smile. If it weren't for the police order, he wouldn't have designed it this way. Because private companies or individuals were not allowed to operate this type of drone. Order from the police. After hearing this, Professor Chen suddenly remembered a recent incident circulating in the industry. It was about the Jinling Police Department issuing a tender, requiring the drone's electro-optical system performance to surpass that of the Global Hawk. This was quite a challenging task. They didn't know if the military could accomplish it, but they certainly couldn't. You got an order from the police. Thinking of the news he heard a few days ago, Professor Chen's mind was spinning. Yes, Tang Rui nodded. Impressive. Tang Rui certainly did not show this potential during his 4 university years. Professor Chen didn't continue to question the order. In his opinion, if Tang Rui could get an order from the police, he must have some background. Otherwise, with the outrageous requirements of the police, even Boeing would be at a loss. That's good. Since it's a police order, there shouldn't be any issues. No, there's still one problem, and I need your help, Professor. What's the problem? Professor, can you help me find a contract manufacturer? Professor Chen's mouth twitched for a moment, but he didn't say anything for a while. Was he really getting the order just based on connections without anything else? He was asking for outsourcing even without complete blueprints besides the drone design. What could he say? He could only acknowledge that having good connections was advantageous. Outsourcing is not a problem. The key is how many orders you have. If it's not too many, you can find any company casually. Professor Chen thought for a moment and asked. It wasn't a difficult task, and he might even gain some favors in return. Now it depended on how many orders Tang Rui had, and then he could find a suitable contractor based on that. The order from the Jinling Police Department should be in the tens of millions. As for future orders from other city police departments, I can't say for sure. Wow! Your connections are really extraordinary. Oh, in that case. We can't approach small companies. Let me think about it. After saying this, Professor Chen took out his phone and started flipping through the contacts. After a while, he made a phone call. Ji Peng, are you busy? There's nothing urgent, but if you're free, come to the university. I want to introduce a junior to you. Okay, I'll wait for your call. He hung up the phone. Putting down the phone, Professor Chen smiled and said, you can also call him senior. He was one of the first students I mentored at this university. Currently, he has a leadership position at AVIC Jinling Light Aircraft Power Company. If you hand over your drone project to their company, there won't be any issues in all aspects. He'll be here shortly, and we can have dinner together tonight. You can have a good chat. How was he an ordinary university professor? With just one phone call, he had brought a leader from a subsidiary company of AVIC Group. AVIC is a large state-owned aerospace and defense conglomerate in China.